What types of surveillance do you do?
Right, we do a number of aspects of surveillance depending on the type of client. So for corporate clients, we may do employee absenteeism, or where an employee is potentially moonlighting for another employer. We also carry out matrimonial surveillance, obviously for partners who believe their partner is committing infidelity, and we also do personal injury surveillance where someone has been involved in an accident and says they can't work, can't walk, can't play football, can't do this, can't do that. And what normally happens is, in a personal injury case, the injured party is normally sent for a medical to assess their injuries, and during that medical the consultant will make a series of notes about what, questions that he asks and the examination that he carries out, and he will then compile a report which says, I examined Mr. F, Mr. B, whatever, and I don't think his injuries are that severe, or there's a question mark about what his ability or her ability may be. And if that sends up a red flag, then the solicitors or the insurance company may say, right, we don't think these injuries are as serious as they're making out, and will instruct us to carry out surveillance to see exactly what the individual can and can't do on a daily basis.
What cases might require or involve surveillance?
Okay, so reiterating this part of the first question really, so depending on who's instructing us, if it's a corporate client who's got an employee who's off sick, long-term sick normally, where they keep submitting new sick notes and saying they can't come to work for whatever reason, but they have seen on social media normally, that's where people let themselves down, that last weekend they were skydiving and they're going to walk Brecon Beacons on Sunday, and they're like, hang on. So then they'll instruct us to put down surveillance. Similarly with the personal injury stuff, it's all a question of, if there's a red flag normally that highlights that person who's potentially says they're unable to work, but there are suspicions that they are able to work, that's when we'll get instructed.
What equipment is involved?
Okay, so as against criminal type surveillance, if like in the police force, for example, if you're carrying out criminal surveillance on a potential criminal or a gang member or something quite serious, drug dealing, that sort of thing, then you have a team of 6 or 8 guys in separate vehicles, motorbikes, people on foot, etc., etc. A little bit different in the civil world. So the civil world is, we haven't got those resources and they can't afford those resources. So if a solicitor was to instruct me to carry out, let's say, a personal injury claim surveillance, we normally use 2 agents in separate vehicles. If we know that, or potentially know that the subject's going to go out in a vehicle, we'll try and follow him from the home address or wherever it is that we're going to take him. If the address that we're going to take the target away is a difficult, like a cul-de-sac or something, then we may put what's called a target van in. So it's a trigger van. So it's a little unmarked van, someone's hidden in the back with spy holes. They will then monitor the address, and the other 2 agents are sat back from the address around the corner somewhere, and then he will give us the trigger that the subject's on its way. And then as it comes out of the cul-de-sac, we take up the surveillance. And then we have, obviously, car-to-car radio, and if we then get out on foot, let's say he goes to a high street, starts walking up and down the high street, we have to get out on foot and follow. We have, again, devices to communicate individually and or mobile phone.
What are the common misconceptions of surveillance?
I think what the biggest one is, people don't realise how difficult it is. People think it's very slow. They've seen it on the telly, one guy in his car following a subject.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a somebody who's potentially aware that surveillance may be carried out, like an active criminal, he will be what we call surveillance conscious. So he'll be constantly looking in his rearview mirror. He may go round and round roundabouts twice to see if you follow him. But generally, with civil surveillance, the subjects aren't surveillance conscious, so they're not likely to think they're going to be followed. However, some of the personal injury ones and all the matrimonial ones, if certain things have happened, they may well have been warned that you potentially could be put under surveillance. So they may well be looking for us. So if you've only got 2 vehicles and you follow someone to a set of traffic lights, they go through the lights and turns red, we can't start jumping traffic lights. So we're done. He's gone. And then it's trying to find him again and pick up the surveillance again. But that's the most misconception. People think it's very simple to follow someone. Yeah. It's not. You follow someone onto a motorway, which I've done before, and they do 50 miles an hour on the motorway. You suddenly got to sit behind them doing 50. They're going to look in their mirror and go, why is that big expensive car sat doing 50 miles an hour behind me? Everybody else is doing 70. So you've got to then overtake it and get ahead of it, and then maybe come off at the next junction, spin round and round and go back on again and come back behind him. Because if you just sit there, he's going to know that you're there. Yeah. We get a little bit of paranoia as surveillance operatives, because if you are following somebody and what we try and do is get what we call 1 for cover or 2 for cover. So we try and get, if we're following that vehicle, we try and get another car totally unconnected between us and him, so he's not looking at us in his rearview mirror. Sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you go down a country lane, it's you and him, and then it's very, very difficult. So you've got to play all the games to try and maintain your surveillance without being seen, without being found out. So it's not easy.
What's been your most interesting surveillance?
There's been loads. I mean, over the years we've done obviously loads and loads of surveillance, but some of the most interesting is where we've put somebody under surveillance many times but never got a result. So either they've never come out of the house, or they've come out of the house, walked down the shop, gone back home, and just sit there for the day doing nothing. And we had a really good case a few years ago where this guy, he was only a youngish guy, but he was claiming that he could never work again, couldn't walk the dog, couldn't do anything. And they were adamant from his medicals that there was nothing wrong with him. So they said, right, you want to do 1 more day? We've done about 10 days, which is, we never do more than 2 or 3 days on anything. We did about the 10th day, we sat there. Out he came. He was going down to the shop as usual, but he didn't. Got in the car, we followed him. And he went to a sailing club. Drove in the sailing club, we couldn't get in, so we parked up, got out on foot, looked around. Eventually the gates opened and the tide was out. So he pulled this huge trailer with a boat on it, on his own, and wheeled it all the way down into the water, got in, and then rowed all the way to his launch, and we just stood there and videoed everything. And off he sailed to the Isle of Wight. And so we waited for about 4 hours, back he came. Now the tide's come in, so he's got to row even further to get back to shore in his rowing boat. We just stood there and videoed him. And then he got out and he lifted this trailer and he hauled it all the way back into the sink. And of course we sent the video off to the solicitors and insurance company, and they were looking at paying £500,000 for this guy. And the whole thing got shot. So they were absolutely delighted. Another one we do quite more prevalent surveillance we do, because the personal injury stuff has gone away a lot. There's not much personal injury surveillance now because of the way that the cases are conducted under CPR rules. A lot of these cases now are settled very quickly. But the most of the surveillance that we do today is employee, whether they're off sick or working for somebody else. And again, it's rumours through the company, somebody in the office has spoken to somebody, or seen something on social media. And again, if you've got a company, especially a medium to small size company, who've got an employee that's on long-term sick, they're having to pay another employee to come and cover that work, and they're paying the sick pay, etc., etc. So it starts to get very costly for them. So their solution to try and finalise and bring something to a conclusion is to put somebody under surveillance. Now, there are lots of rules and regulations around surveillance. Human Rights Act, the new GDPR rules, lots of rules that we are restricted by on who we can put under surveillance, how we can put them under surveillance, and when. So, for example, if I'm instructed to follow Fred Smith and he's walking down the road with Joe Brown, we are not allowed to put or try not to capture Joe Brown in any of the surveillance footage, because that's what's called collateral intrusion. Collateral intrusion is inadmissible in court. So our surveillance has to be directed on the subject. If it's a government body, then it's all governed by what we call RIPA, which is the Regulatory Investigatory Powers Act, which allows certain government bodies to instruct us to put someone in surveillance. But again, the rules and regulations are very, very strict. And collateral intrusion is the biggest one we're not allowed to, or trying to avoid. And if, let's say, they're suspected of working somewhere else, if in the first hour we take him to, he's a painter and decorator, we take him to somewhere and he starts painting and decorating for 10 minutes, and we've got that on video, we have to stop. Can't sit there all day and watch him in video, because we've got the essence of the complaint already captured. We must cease the surveillance. So there's lots of rules and regs that you have to be careful of. And a RIPA authority has to be signed off by a solicitor or head of legal department, normally HR, so solicitor, head of HR in a big firm will do that. And it's about a 10-page document they have to complete in order to allow the surveillance to actually take place in the first place. Touching on the matrimonial one.
Yeah. So
matrimonial, obviously, in all the years I've been doing this, if somebody comes to me, male or female, and says, I think my partner's having an affair, I want you to put them under surveillance. I can guarantee 99.9% is true. Because by the time they've plucked up all the courage and done everything else, by the time they've got to me, they know it's true, they just want some kind of bulletproof proof that it's definitely happened. So we're always fairly confident that when we start that job, it's going to be a positive conclusion. And we've had some great stories over the years, but one was a little classic where a guy rang me very late on a Friday, brought my wife followed, she's definitely seen somebody else. Okay, where are you? So 6:15, we took up surveillance. She came out of the house at 6:30. We followed her to an address about 5 miles away. She got out of the car, her car, went into this house, and about 10 minutes later she came out of the house with another guy, got in his car and drove away. So I rang the client and said, good news and bad news. Good news is we've caught her. Bad news is she's gone off in the guy's car. He said, right, where are you? So I told him. He said, right, stay there. So he arrived about 20 minutes later with the spare keys to her car and said, right, follow me. And he drove her car to an industrial estate about 5 miles away and parked it in the corner. And then I took him back to his car and he went home. And he waited for the call. So about 11 o'clock at night, she rings. She obviously got back to the house and went, where's my car? So she rang him and said, my car's been stolen. Really? Where from? Outside my friend's house. Oh yeah, which friend is that? She went, oh, really, yeah. Told her what to do and put the phone down. And apparently I spoke to him about a week later and he didn't tell her where the car was for 5 days. So brilliant. I love that one. And as I say, you're going to give somebody bad news, but they generally know. Whilst you've got to ring them up and say, it's got them kissing and cuddling in the corner of the pub or whatever it might be, they pretty know that's what they're going to do. So.
How often would you say a surveillance case comes in?
If we get, we probably get instructed at least once a week for, any variety of surveillance really, but genuinely at the moment. Most of our surveillance this year, for example, has been employee absentees.
Yeah.
And that's what we will, that's really what we want to focus on to take to the clients to say, that's what we're experts at. And all being well, we will get you a result one way or the other.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, it's absolutely genuine. The guy is off, and it's just been a rumour around the office that, he's pulling the wool over your eyes. Actually, some of these people are genuine. We followed this guy he was been off sick for ages and ages, bad accident, and they sent him to Harley Street to see one of these consultants for one of these medical examinations. And they said, we want you to follow him, see what he's like all the way up there, and then after he comes out. So we followed him, and he was with, I think, his dad, this guy in his 20s. And he came out of the house on crutches, limped all the way. They got a cab. We followed the cab to the train station. We got on the train, followed them up to London, followed them to Harley Street on his crutches, could hardly walk. Went in for the medical. We waited outside. About 2 hours later, they came out. Walked out the door, walked down the road, got round the corner and went, put the crutches over in someone's garden, and they skipped off to the pub. Nothing wrong with them at all. And then about 4 hours later, they came back, retrieved the crutches and went home. So to summarise, we carry out surveillance for all corporate bodies, government bodies, local authorities, private clients. Anybody's got a suspicion about somebody who's off sick or unable to work or, on the matrimonial side, infidelity. And we have trained personnel who've been doing this for many years, all the right equipment, all the right people, and we can help.